The gradual unveiling. Extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, and human evolution. An essay by James Mahu. Question. There's so much chatter about the disclosure that Earth has been and is presently being visited by extraterrestrials and/or interdimensionals, and that they played a prominent role in human evolution, particularly our technology. Everyone says this information is being disclosed in slow motion, but it almost seems more likely it will never be disclosed, and will be left in doubt and suspicion. Why is this being done? Answer. The reason behind this slow disclosure across generations of humankind is twofold. First, there are those who know the reality, enjoy the intrigue, and desire to keep it all under wraps. It's their private theater. Second, the rational, yet outdated assumption that if it were disclosed more quickly, it would destabilize governments, religions, educational systems, and thus, economies and cultures would suffer irreparable losses. There are other reasons, but these are the main ones. The people in the know are bridges. That is how they see themselves. They are first responders to the clarion call that humanity is but a strand in the braids of embodied, sovereign, sentient, higher intelligence. These higher intelligences are curious, but none more so than the first explorers to find Earth when it was still in early formation. Earth was foreseen by its creator, the one that embodied within a planet. In order to produce such a planet as Earth, it requires a creator of great skill, empowerment, curiosity, wisdom, and sheer intelligence that none of us in our human form can even imagine. All we can know is that we are a part of that creator and that this creator is a part of another scale of creation, and this fractal reality goes on well past infinity, as we think of it. Extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are all part of that creation. The creator of Earth was not a geological phenomenon. If we could go backwards, into the unknowable history, where planets and stars were incepted by a singular intelligence that constituted the multiverse of dimensional life, we would see it bearing a new dimension of physicality that was so dense it was separate from all other dimensions. All other dimensions were like the projected dreams of this singular intelligence, and the idea of a planet like Earth was born. It was at the inception point of our universe, and it evolved biologically, with the ability to create genetics, and these genetics were the prized gems of physical life. These genetics were given to the original race of beings in our universe. We can call them the central race. These were, to humanity, our first extraterrestrials, but they were also our creators. Our particular species, as we know it today, is the outgrowth of that genetic line. Genetics, within spacetime, are always in a state of change. Sometimes the change can be towards unification and love, and sometimes the change can be towards hate and division. In a duality-based, free will universe, it is always both. Genetics have a vision. They are always evolving towards something. This something can be behavioral coherence with the soul or infinite self, or it can be technological superiority, when our genetics merge with synthetics. The vision of genetics is to diversify and survive. The vision of human genetics is to develop a physical body, heart-mind system, and imaginative, higher mind that can support the vision of an embodied soul within a planetary realm that is based entirely on free will and duality. One part moves toward behavioral coherence, and the other towards synthetic intelligence within synthetic bodies. These two fundamental paths could be defined as behavioral and synthetic. The first is based on the alignment of imagination, thought, feeling, and the behavior of hands, legs, and mouth, making all of these partners with the infinite self. The second is based on the use of artificial intelligence that is designed by humans, and then itself, in a recursive cycling at the speed of light, ultimately usurps the genetic code and reconfigures it for its own purpose. Now, with that backstory, the belief that extraterrestrials or even interdimensional beings are outside of our planet is false. They are part of the planetary consciousness that we are all a part of, whether we acknowledge it or not. This means that there are those of similar intelligence whose genetic code has been synthetically evolved by artificial intelligence, and there are those whose genetics have been organically evolved by behavioral coherence, or lack thereof. And naturally, there will be those that are a mixture of both. A race does not become an explorer race for lack of curiosity and the intelligence to satisfy that level of curiosity. Intelligence of this kind takes many trajectories. It can become technologically advanced. It can become spiritually advanced. It can become mentally advanced. It is always a mixture. It is the ratio that matters. Each galaxy has an integral story that is being told to its inhabitants. The story's arc is infinite within the galaxy and outside the galaxy to include the broader universe and ultimately the infinitely dimensional multiverse. We are part of a whole that we cannot comprehend within our humanity. This is how it was meant to be. If an explorer race is mentally developed with sophisticated technologies, they could lack spiritual development. And to be clear, when I use the term spiritual, I'm not suggesting religion. Simply that the race is aware of the interconnectedness of life and its sacred value. That understanding may be wrapped inside a religious belief system very different from our own, or it may not have any organizational ownership. The point is that these races visit Earth, not outside of Earth, but within its sphere of influence and reality-making machinery. They are as much a part of Earth as we are. Earth is the consciousness of which we, all of us, are a part, and through Earth, we are a part of all dimensional realities because we have nested our individuality, as infinite beings, inside a planetary consciousness. We are it, and it is us. The consciousness of Earth has always been a platform for individuality within a free will, duality-based, life-giving, space-time ecosphere that is exploring a universe of its making. The planetary consciousness is reaching out to the universe. It is not humanity or any other affiliated consciousness. It is the planet itself that is our exploratory platform. It travels through spacetime as an aggregate of life forms, and this consciousness that is all of us, is what we have always called God, yet we have anthropomorphized this planetary consciousness to fit our conceptions of what God is like. It must be like a human father or mother, it must care about us enough to send messengers and messiahs. It must be all-powerful, and the wisest of us know how to appeal to it. And so we have created God, when indeed, we are part of the consciousness that is the planet itself, and that planetary consciousness is part of a consciousness that is galactic in nature. And that is part of a consciousness that is universal in nature, which is a part of a consciousness that is multidimensional in nature. And that is part of a consciousness that is unknowable for a human consciousness to understand, but it goes on and on. Thus, to understand extraterrestrial or interdimensional, we must understand that we are that. The thing that is outside of us seems separate from us, yet the thing that we all are, is a single planetary consciousness that is unified in the infinite spectrum of realities. And we have been granted the privilege to experience spacetime through a planetary lens of which we are all a part. Our individuality is indestructible and infinite. Yet, it is not the individuality of a human, it is the individuality of a planet. The planet is our platform. Our stage to experience spacetime duality with free will. If in some distant future, humanity is able to travel to other planets or meet beings on Earth who have traveled from other planets, it is Earth consciousness that has made this possible. And all of that experience is an earthly experience. It is part of Earth's reality. Thus, the planetary consciousness of Earth is the compilation of the genetics of all its life forms, whether those life forms are from Earth or another planet that Earth expands to, And this aggregate of genetics constitutes the reality-making machinery of Earth, which in turn is the stage where we unspool our local universe, across dimensions, and express our individuality. Thus, in a way, there are no extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, because they are part of our planetary consciousness, just as we are. The planetary consciousness is creating the universe in the same way that each of us creates our local universe. The universe is a projection of Earth. The solar masses are the energetic centers of the planetary consciousnesses that are far-flung in our universe. And upon each of these planetary systems rests a genetic library. And within this library, there are species through which that planetary consciousness can experience space-time reality. You could think of it as if the universe was a bloodstream and the cells inside that bloodstream are the galaxies and planetary consciousness therein. The larger body is unseen. We know only of the blood vessels and arteries. The heart, brain, body, and mind of the greater multiverse, and the consciousness therein, are not even contemplated. The scope of creation is infinite, and we are an infinite being within it. Ultimately, our decision will be to align to the path of behavioral coherence, because that is where knowledge leads. When we discover who and what we are, we align to that understanding steadfastly, and it is not a moment of enlightenment or satori, it is a glimpse of who we are. It is always a glimpse that is evolving in depth and breadth. There is no end to our understanding or finality of comprehension. It evolves and unfurls in the spectrum of time. The key understanding is that we are all planetary beings at one level, conjoined from one genetic library as members of a species living on a planet called Earth, powered by a star to travel a universe and explore space-time duality with free will. And we are simultaneously infinite beings who explore planetary consciousness. We are both of these. When we realize this, and we realize that we are interconnected as a result, we understand that behavioral coherence is our natural state. No matter what prevails in the form of technology, it will not prevail over behavioral coherence, because that is what free will engenders. We get to choose. We decide, one human being at a time. It is always an internal choice at an individual level. We choose to be who we are as our infinite self in every moment, unconditionally. And we do this to the best of our abilities in each moment that we exist. It is our infinite behavior that guides us.